So we're on to our second session, which examines how sustainable is sustainable fashion, green chic or a mean trick. Today, the global fashion industry is obsessed by sustainability, and one is forced to adopt newer initiatives that reduce water, energy, and chemical consumption and cut down on wastage. But consumption, as you know, is an all-time high, and the demand for more means better business, but does it make sustainable business, and is it a good model to follow? Addressing these concerns, we have two very important individuals, Kriti Tula, co-founder and creative director of Doodlage, that makes unique and fashionable products from used leftover fabric and biodegradable fabric made from corn and banana fibers. And with her, we have Dipannita Sharma, actor, supermodel, and an entrepreneur, who was amongst the final 5 of the Miss India 1998 contest, where she also won the Miss Photogenic title. She's a much sought-after supermodel. She's walked the ramps of, for all major designers in the country and for international design houses, such as Valentino and Fendi. And she's even forayed into television and films, hosting shows and doing lead roles in feature films. In fact, her latest film is the action-packed Aditya Chopra film, War. So please welcome Kriti Tula and Dipannita Sharma.
Up in paradise, I suppose. If you will tell me I'm the only one that you love, life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again. Shaboom, hello, me again. Oh, life could be a dream. If I could take you up in paradise, I suppose. If you will tell me I'm the only one that you love, life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again. Shaboom, hello.
Thank you for that lovely introduction of what both of us have been doing in our lives till now. Yes. And moving forward with it. We're going to have like a conversation about me trying to understand what, as a consumer and a celeb, sustainability means to you, and from your end, a conversation about
what I understand from the producer's point of view. Yes.
Great.
Good morning, everyone. This is a overwhelmingly large crowd, and thank you so much for making us feel so special. Thank you. And yeah, Kriti and me are going to have a banter and a conversation, and I think we will also learn quite a bit over this conversation, not just impart knowledge.
Yeah, this is also the first time we are meeting each other for
correct.
Understanding where we come
Right.
from. So I think my first question to you would be, as a consumer, what do you understand about sustainability and sustainable fashion as such?
So, okay, over time I've realized that sustainability is an extremely wide spectrum, especially when it comes to fashion. And at some level, I feel there is nothing like 100% sustainability so far. And for me, I think having some kind of integrity in the way I consume fashion, in the way I look at fashion, that is where sustainable fashion emerges, you know, for me. And it's a work in progress as well. Because conscious consumer is not something that is going to happen overnight. And I have also learned this as I go forward in life. When I begun in my career, I had no idea about this. I didn't know anything about what this even means. And I'm glad that I've become a conscious consumer as I went forward in my career, and as I understood how important it is to adopt sustainable fashion. also, it is not just about buying just organic clothing. You know, it's not that. And there's so much more to it. And it's about what, as a consumer, I can begin with. And that's what sustainability means to me so far.
I think that's fairly
Yeah?
wrapped up. Yes.
Right. And also, okay, so since I'm here with you, I would like to know from you, Kriti, how did sustainability begin for you? And as a fashion enthusiast, as a creator, why did you decide to take this path?
So I liked your definition of sustainability to start with, and it's not just a learning process for the consumer, it's also a learning process for the producer, because fashion industry in itself has scaled to such a massive level. We're a $3 trillion industry today, and nobody planned for it to grow this way. Every country was initially producing, designing, and selling in their own system as a sustainable system. And over the last 150 years, it changed from one part of the world designing and one part of the world producing. And as a fashion student, that was something that I got more and more aware of as to how to scale, and to scale more, it was more and more important that the cost of production becomes lower and cheaper. The trends have to come in and go out. And it was appalling to see the amount of wastage that this system was incurring and encouraging. I worked from export houses to design houses that have the capacity to waste around 45,000 meters of fabric on a daily basis.
Wow. Okay.
So as a fashion consumer and a producer, it just made no sense to discard so much fabric based on small defects. It made no sense to not do so much with that already exists. If you talk about numbers, it's estimated that just in India, China, and Bangladesh, there's 80 billion square meters of fabric that is wasted on a yearly basis. And that's enough fabric to cover entire North Korea.
Wow.
That is the scale that we are talking about. And for me, it was important to sort of, when Doodlage started, it was not even a conversation. Like in 2012, sustainability wasn't a buzzword. So for me, it wasn't about building the brand. It was more about starting that conversation that there is something wrong. And as consumers and producers, we need to start thinking about solutions and alternative economies, because there's so many people who are dependent on fashion. If people start shunning fashion, what happens to the farmers, the artisans, everybody, the marketing guy, to salesmen, to models, to celebrities? What do they endorse, and how does this industry work? So it wasn't just about shunning fashion, it was also about how can we start thinking about alternative economies to still support fashion and the industry itself and the employment it generates, but not impact environment at this scale.
And that's so tricky, right? Because
Yes.
it's a chain reaction, from the beginning of the spectrum to the end, which is, beginning with the creator supplier, going to the consumer, and everything else in between. And like I said, it's always work in progress. And there are so many aspects to it that, grasping even a little bit of it for most, I think, is difficult.
Yes. And like I said, that for an individual, as a consumer, after a 9-to-5 job, it's so difficult to sit there and think consciously about, how to consume better, how to eat better, and to even know that fashion is a problem. How is my shirt impacting what I eat and breathe?
Correct, because most people, that does not occur to you. It didn't occur to me for the longest time, considering I'm part of the industry, it still didn't occur to me. And
To that, actually, I want to know more about your journey as a sustainable consumer. Once you did educate yourself, what are a few things that you do to consume sustainably? I also want to know what you feel as an industry, fashion, celeb, model, how you can impact more people with this idea of sustainable fashion, because, as a consumer in India, you aspire, like fashion is aspirational, right? So how do you think you could bring about that change a little bit?
That's a very good question, actually, because there's a huge dichotomy there. So as a person who's in the public eye, you call us whatever, actor, model, supermodel, celebrity, whoever, in whatever capacity, we are expected not to repeat clothes. Okay, when we go for events, it's like you wear one outfit and then you're told that you can't wear this again because you're aspirational, because people look up to you and they don't want to see you repeat clothes. So this is an example from my life, and I have been an advocate of wardrobe recycle. I mean, what's the point of having something nice in your wardrobe if you can't wear it again? Excuse me, why should I not wear it again? I have saved money, spent on a beautiful outfit, and I can't wear it again. What does that even mean, right? So when I had suggested this to a person who was managing my work at that time, I shall not name names. So I said, why don't we do this? I want to educate people on wardrobe recycle, having less, because then that also means you are reducing carbon footprint and you're going forward in a more sustainable way. Did not go down well. I was shot down immediately. And this was a couple of years back, and I started my journey at that time, and I wanted to do this, but it wasn't taken well. So over time, I've figured that how I can be sustainable is borrow outfit. Okay, if I can't wear the same outfit in different events, I won't wear the clothes that I own. I will borrow from a designer. I will wear it for the event. The required barter happens. I tag on social media. I give them due credit. I promote them. I give the outfit back. If I do like an outfit once in a while, then I buy it off them. But then that outfit I shall wear many times till I'm done with it, and then I can give it away. So this is, I think, borrowing for me is a great way of sustainability and also living up to the expectations of, say, the people who think that I shouldn't repeat my outfits, and I think, who think, right? Yeah, because I don't think there's anything wrong in repeating outfits, but there are, I think, people who expect it, and if that is expected, I'll do it. Yes. But I'll do it on my terms, and I will borrow, and I feel better about it then. Of course, then I'm adding to the whole sustainability idea as well. And I also want, speaking about this, I don't think many of the people in the public eye or celebrities would see this, because probably you're not supposed to say it, that you borrow an outfit and give it back. But I also want to say this because I want to educate everyone on the fact that this is also a nice aspirational way to be. You can, you can rent, you can borrow, and it is a great way to be, in terms of the whole sustainable fashion that we are trying to do, and in general being sustainable. I mean,
it's not about buying and buying more or buying that organic
absolutely, it's
cotton
not,
dress.
Yeah, because I have met people, you're right about that. I've met people who think having 50 or 100 organic outfits in the wardrobe is a great way of being, sustainably, fashionable or like a green icon. No, that's wrong. It is
because organic cotton still uses the exact number of resources. The only thing that it doesn't add is the pesticides and the chemicals in the soil.
Correct.
But it still uses up all of those
we
resources.
Are still demanding more, so there's more supply, and which is why, again, we're increasing the whole volume and the carbon footprint and all of that. It continues to happen. So, I mean, in that context, I wanted to ask you, because I'm talking about using less.
Yes.
So how does it work for a creator,
Yes.
a supplier, such as you,
Yes.
in terms of the business side of it? How does it work, sustainable fashion?
So like I was telling or talking about earlier, that sustainability as like fashion as an economy needs to find ways to sustain the people who work for fashion, right from the farmer to the person who's selling it. And if the demand for fashion goes down, which is happening currently, there are so many brands that are filing bankruptcy because there is so much distress within, and fashion is always impacted by that because it's not a need anymore. Everybody has enough amount of clothes. It's not like food, it's not like water, you're not living off it. So we're just buying and buying more at this point. So it's important to understand and build alternatives to it, like the renting model or the subscription model. It's still finding employment or swapping model. And finding ways to sustain the economy while you are also focusing on creating less, creating a certain sustainable amount of inventory, not ending up in insane amount of dead stock, which eventually you have to burn and add to the carbon footprint because you have to keep your costs of production lower. So this system, the way it has been built is so equipped for scaling and producing more and more and buying more and more that reversing this process is not going to happen overnight. So as a producer or a brand that's growing ground up, for us it was important to understand how to scale this business model of sustainable fashion, how to at one point be producing and at another point asking the consumer to buy less. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So
That's what I wanted to know.
So it's a challenge, but it's important to understand the true value of a product. At no point in a fast fashion cycle, the resources that are being consumed to produce the garments are accounted for, because that's an actual cost that is going and impacting the environment, right? So when you're producing less, we only produce on orders, for example. Our delivery timelines are 7 to 10 days. We will not overproduce. We do produce a certain amount, and as it exhausts, we produce more. So we don't, which is why your costs of production are higher. You work with ethical production units, which provide living wages to people who are working to produce fashion, and that was important to us because it's not just about giving work to the artisans who work for us, it's giving them a better living condition because our minimum wages are 16,000 a month, which is 16 to 19,000 a month between Faridabad and Gurgaon and Delhi, depending on what region you are operating out of. And that's no living wage for a person who's running a family. You cannot sustain even in Delhi at that prices. So it was important for us to collaborate with people who understand or is able to provide living wages to people who are producing our pieces. Then it was important to us to understand what kind of fabrics we are working with and what is the footprint of each of the fabric that we are working with. And we started with just upcycling. So everything that we were producing from was wasted by another company. So which is what the video also showed, that it's either discarded as post-cutting waste. So if it's a rectangular piece of fabric, your dress is cut out of it, there are big panels that are left over, which can be patched together to create more pieces. The second fabric that we worked with was surplus or defected fabrics. So because of color lot variations, natural defects in fabrics, because there are slubs in weaving, a lot of them are hand-done processes, these fabrics get discarded and immediately loses the value of the fabric. and all the resources that went into it. So it was important for us to upcycle that fabric, which meant we add patches, we add embroideries, but we find ways to work around it.
And make it fashionable.
And make it fashionable and make it premium. After that, it was, since we sort of understood how to work around the whole process of upcycling of fabric wastages from industry, it became, our second step was to understand how can we work with, we're working with post-production wastages, which is factory waste. Then we started working with post-consumer wastages. And now it was important to us to understand the dynamics of the country who is not yet ready to wear somebody else's garments or pay money for somebody else's garments. So then we started working with yarns that are developed out of garments that are wasted and recycling fabrics to create the pieces. Now, as we started scaling up, we realized that we're going to become a part of a problem. So it's a very, our packaging is plastic free, for example. So sustainability in itself is it's a learning curve for the producer as well. And next steps for us was also that, okay, now that we are producing more, it's also important to understand, can we create repair services? Can we create workshops for people to understand how to make repair cool in itself. Right. So those are things that we started focusing on as a brand. Right. And I felt that was important for us while scaling up to educate the consumer as well.
Yeah, because so I also feel that these are important, what she's telling us is important for us as a consumer, because half the time we are consuming, we are buying, and we don't even know how the creation process is and how important that is when we are consuming some kind of fashion, and what is the process of creating it. And that probably, if we know all of that, maybe that will help us become more conscious consumers.
But that's the thing, that fashion industry has worked over a period of time to disconnect you as a consumer to the processes. So you make it disposable. You have to stop thinking of it that it's impacting anything.
Yeah, because also again, the dichotomy that we're talking about sustainable fashion, and then fashion tells us that trends are changing, like okay, this is fall winter, and then this is summer. So now the bag you bought for fall winter is not going to be used for summer. And I think, very honestly, I think both of us are on the same page for that because I'm like, okay, I've just bought this. There is no way I'm going to use this for only 6 months. That's
exactly.
Yeah.
And those fashion cycles over the period have become smaller and smaller. We started with 4 seasons. Yeah. Now, fast fashion is producing 52 collections every year.
Oh my God, that is just not even allowed.
Exactly.
How frightening is that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I know what's happening with the clothes and where the industry is going. I want to understand from a consumer perspective. I know that everybody gets that it's not like food. You don't eat and it processes, right? What happens to the clothes that you're buying?
Okay. So, self-confession here that I have, before I got onto, onto the beautiful path of, sustainability, I've been a hoarder, buy, shove things into the wardrobe and just hoard and hoard. And let me tell you, it is the worst habit ever. Please do not ever hoard. I cannot tell you how much lighter I feel that I have gotten into this habit of decluttering. It started, my sustainability factor started with decluttering to begin with. It's peace of mind, it's like letting go of baggage, and you're doing something nice. And I'm not talking about throwing away, because I think that's just being extremely irresponsible. I'm talking about giving away a wardrobe that you have made maximum use of and giving it away to someone who will make use of it, and clothes that are in good condition. Clothes that are in good condition, or anything else, accessories, shoes that are in good condition, to someone who would like to use it, reuse it. Nowadays, there are a lot of garage sales where you can put up your outfits. There was this other portal who said, would you like to give your wardrobe for charity. We are going to sell it, and the proceeds will go to charity as well, which I think is a great way, and I was very happy to do that. It's so, you know, trust me, it's so difficult to let go of certain pieces that have been so dear to you, and you know, there's some emotional value and some this and some that, but I think the biggest emotion right now for us should be the environment and the way we are consuming, and that is when I thought, okay, if I'm talking about emotions, then this should come first for me, and not attachment to, you know, outfits. And it's work in progress towards capsuling my wardrobe as much as I can. Let me tell you, very tough, but working at it because I feel better about doing this.
So you're saying you've been that person.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel better about myself about doing this. So
No, it is easier when you, like, I work with a 15 garment capsule collection.
can you believe this? I think that is just amazing. She has 15 outfits. Yeah, it's praiseworthy, absolutely. And I want to get there at some point. She uses 15 outfits, she discards or gives away in a right manner, and then she gets her next 15. That is Zen, by the way, you know.
And that needs to sort of come about as a process, and that's what I say, when how celebrity culture can sort of impact the consumers at a mass level is to make all of this cool again, to have emotions to your clothes, to not see them as disposable products.
Yes, I think, yeah. So, okay, so I'm thinking, okay, as a consumer, how ethical I can be, right? And it is also quite amazing to see in a larger scale, and we both, I think, had this conversation as well, when you see across the country how little people even bother about this actually, a lot of times, you know, because it's fashion, and they feel, okay, there has to be a new outfit there's a new outfit for Diwali, and there's a new outfit for Christmas, and there has to be a new outfit for every occasion. And it is done without a thought. And let me tell you, here, I'm sitting today, I'm wearing an outfit which I have borrowed from a designer, and I'm going to give it back. But there are people across the country who think that you are meant and should buy an outfit every time there's an event. And I've met people like that. And I ask them, what do you do with this outfit after that? Their answer is nothing. कुछ नहीं, वो ऐसे wardrobe में रहता है, मैं फिर से तो नहीं पहन सकती ना. So literally, it's the thought process that needs to change. Yes. It's like a revolution. I mean, since we are in a phase of revolution in any case. So I think it's sort of so many things to it, which is why I feel, what do you as a producer and creator look at these ethics, and how do you take this forward?
Like you said, that it's an education that needs to go, because genuinely sustainability is so broad and with no terms defined. People are still trying to understand what's ethical, what's not ethical. Then there are people, or there are brands that are big enough to add greenwashing to it, where the whole idea of buying more organic cotton makes you sustainable comes into play. So as an industry and as a practice, this process needs to change, where people have to, like everything else, you research. Yeah. You know, you read more. You understand the impact of fashion. Fashion over the years have become one of the most polluting industries in the world. Yes, exactly. So there is an impact. Yes. And there needs to be investment into finding more solutions at both first, you need to understand and accept that it's a problem. And most brands or most policymakers don't want to accept it as a problem, because that has immediate effect on the economy itself. But it's going to happen even if you try to find solutions or you don't try to find solutions, and it's already happening. People are hoarding lesser, people are buying lesser, people are investing into experiences, right? Yeah. So it is impacting the fashion industry. If or if not, you start finding solutions and finding ways to invest in this space. So there are like rental models, like you said, subscription models, where you pay a certain amount of money and you get a certain number of clothes, and those clothes go back and then they move into a cycle. So it's important to think about circularity of this, and it starts right from the how you buy it, what fabric goes into it, is that fabric biodegradable or not, is the polyester in my garment recycled or not. And there is so much information about the impact of fashion industry that is already available. One is the push from the industry that is required to find solution, but there also has to be a pull from the consumer's perspective as to how important is it for me as a consumer to find these solutions as well.
I also feel that somehow sustainable fashion is looked at as very exclusive right now in so many ways.
Yes.
Exclusive, people feel
That's very expensive.
it's very expensive. Where are we going to find it? It is, you know, it's going to be too much of a thought into it. Let's just go to the next store, you know, the high street fashion, and just pick up an outfit for the event. So I'm saying, how do you think you can solve this, or you're working at solving this, to make it more available or make it more affordable?
So once we've identified the solutions, it's important for us to raise enough money to scale this business model, not just of producing it, but finding ways to get people into repairing services, not just buying services. Finding repair solutions, inviting people, and we still do it, but we do it at a very small scale. People who are connected to us personally, every buyer that Doodlage has had, even after 2 or 3 years, you can come back to us and we offer repair services, alteration services for the same products that you bought. Because it's important for us to know that the consumer has worn that outfit enough and still wants to wear that outfit. The other solution is the buyback program that we have, the swapping that we allow. So we have a swapping rack within our studio. Anybody can come in and actually just exchange clothes instead of buying more all the time. So these are things that we're doing it at a personal level, but as an industrial level, people are still working to find alternative materials, for example, that are biodegradable. 100% recycled fabrics are available today. So things like that, it's happening. But like I said, that if consumer becomes more and more aware and tries to sort of purchase more consciously or declutter, like you said, it's not about always buying, it's about thinking about what you're buying. And other complaint that people always have is the costs involved in it.
Always.
So at least with our brand, we have tried to bring down the cost to a level that, yes, you won't be able to afford 10 outfits together, but if you're buying 10 outfits, you also have to dispose 10 outfits. And those 10 outfits will stay on earth forever. So if you buy less and buy quality product and wear that quality product over and over, if I can survive for the last 6 years in 15 clothes, there has to be a way to do this, right? So those are just steps of becoming more conscious and aware.
So to
Sum it up?
I was wondering, to sum it up, I think we have been having conversations since yesterday over this, and the fact that we were going to do this talk. It's nice that we connected, and I only met her yesterday. I think it is, apart from being a broad spectrum, it is, I think, consciously understanding the entire chain from, say, supply to the consumer, and consumer understanding how it is being supplied, and the supplier understanding how to produce it for the consumers, and everything else in between. So, and it's, I think, revolutionizing an entire thought process. it's happening.
It's
and
slow, but it's
it's
happening.
slow,
Like
but it's
everything
happening.
else, it's not going to.
Yeah,
things don't
nothing
change
happens
overnight.
overnight.
Yeah.
Nothing happens overnight. And it's nice that people are understanding
Yes.
it more and more.
Yes. So my other question to you then is that do you think as an industry which inspires people to purchase, especially specific to purchasing habits, do you think it's, and it's asked to me a lot, do you think it's just a trend or is it, is it the future of the fashion industry? Like you said that it's revolutionizing the whole concept of how to produce and how to consume. Do you think it's going somewhere?
It's definitely going somewhere, but I think whether it's just a trend or there's a future will be completely up to us.
Yes.
And only if we keep discussing this, taking this forward, even if I think 3 people say today after listening to us that we want to follow this, I think that's taking the whole, whole process forward, and which is why I think there is future to this, because at the end we all do want to be good. All of us do want to be good and organic and sustainable. So, yeah.
That's true. That's something that has come up in conversations that I've had as well. That as a consumer, I don't want to do bad. I just want you to give me good stuff. Figure it out how to. Just like we don't consciously want to be a part of an evil industry, or we don't knowingly want to consume in a certain way. Nobody told me as to.
Nobody told us, yes.
Yeah, as
So
to
true.
it's actually impacting.
Yeah.
And my shirt is the cause of the air I breathe. So nobody told us
That's
right?
such an important point, because also a lot of times it has been looked at frivolously.
Yes. And I think fashion for a very long time, people don't understand the impact of fashion because, and even when I was joining fashion, especially when we started fashion, or you started modeling, or I started designing, fashion was always so, so glamorous.
Yeah.
Right?
That's where it began and ended.
Exactly.
In
So
the beginning.
it's so frivolously taken that, it's pretty.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it's an actual impactful industry which impacts everything we eat, everything we breathe, and everything in the middle in terms of where we're staying. And nobody talks about that or connects the dot for us. In that way.
And I'm so glad we are talking about this today, and with a wonderful audience listening to us as well. So I think we have pretty much done our conversation, and we would like to know from you, our respected audience, if there's anything that you all have in mind, anything that you all would like to ask. So we're just opening it up to you.
Dear speakers, I appreciate the way you have been very reverently dressed. Though you belong to the fashion industry, and that itself speaks of sustainability.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was wondering whether you can work on a trend to make a fashion come back faster than it has during all these years. For example, when I was young, we had bell bottoms. And now we have palazzos. Not very far away from the two.
Not, yes.
Saris have remained the same, though textures and the designs have differed. However, the blouses have become long sleeves, short sleeves, off sleeves, no sleeves, and today I see a lady in real long sleeves, long loose sleeves. Can you work on a trend that can bring fashion back faster than before?
Okay. So, okay. Thank you for the question. I, for one, you know that you spoke about the. Please take a seat, ma'am. Thank you. I, for one, love saris, and the fact that so many people are wearing saris here is just making me so happy. Both of us were discussing
I was
that.
like, we should have worn saris.
Yes, I wish we were told. We would have brought saris today.
You know.
Also, yeah. Also, also I feel fashion somewhere impacts style, you know, it's also very individual. So over time, the way you interpret fashion also changes, you know. I always say fashion is fairly simple unless you misinterpret it, you know. So when it comes to, you spoke about the blouse sleeves and everything. It's so individualistic. Like, I love high neck, elegant, long blouses. I love it. But then there'll be some character I have to play in a film where I might have to wear something else altogether. So there, it is not my individual choice. So a lot of times, I think people who are choosing to wear, it's also how they think, you know. And it's not always, I am not someone who says, okay, this is a trend, so you have to follow it. I think the more individualistic you are in your choices, the better it will always be. And yes, ma'am, I'm very happy to bring back all those old-fashioned styles, especially when it comes to blouses and saris. I'm all for traditional and all for, you know, what my mom used to wear. And I love her blouses. I borrow them all the time. So yes, we shall, I guess we'll work on some trend too. No. And you know what, also fashion, like you said, there's bell-bottoms and now there are palazzos. It's just named differently. Palazzo is sort of a foreign name for, you know, English bell-bottoms.
That's not
it's
true.
just, it's not true. It's also, it's cut differently.
Yeah, it's
Palazzos are wider. Bell-bottoms were cut from the knee.
Yeah, it's more mermaid
Bottom,
shape.
it's more.
But
bell-bottoms have also come back into fashion a lot of times. So also they keep circulating. It's like how denims...
Trends recycle themselves.
Yeah, and denims, like, also, how many different cuts are you going to have, very honestly, you know? So, although you can have many, but I'm saying, you know, certain fits. How many different are you going to, they are going to come back. High waist is back, you know. Then you go to really low waist, and then, you know, you go back to high waist. So, it's, it's a cycle, and we continue in that, I think, and as much as we can rediscover,
I think anyway, trends, the impact of trends that was once there has changed completely over the period of time.
Yeah.
Like forecasting was a thing. Now it's not there anymore because there's so many fashion cycles that exist.
Yeah.
So it's more about discovering an innovation today, finding new materials today that becomes or dictates trends. Rest of it's just recycling, and like you said, individualism is the biggest trend, to be confident about what you're wearing and understanding your own body type to endorse a trend.
Actually, body type is the most important thing when you're figuring what outfits to wear. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
any other question around?
Let me first of all congratulate you on this unique concept. Somehow I hadn't connected fabric with sustainability. So thank you very much for doing that. And also thank you for your candor. And to the question raised by Phyllis about fashion coming back soon enough, I feel ignited Ignatians here should be the trend setters of fashion. I don't think we have to wait for any fashion to come back to trend. We can be as you said, we should have the confidence.
You need to believe in yourself.
Do that. I think you have actually given us that confidence to do that.
Yes.
And I'm sure that all these youngsters will go back with the idea of sustainability, which is very important in India, because I think we contribute largely towards waste of all kinds. And if this waste can be controlled, that could be our contribution towards the welfare of our own nation.
That's actually the biggest consumer
Yes, thank you very much for that. And thank you for your candor when a celebrity like Dipannita talks about borrowing, and when you, as the manufacturer of recycled material, talk about it, all of us will go back as changed human beings. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.